Well, Happy Traum is here, and man, you during the mid-break, we mentioned that Sing Out magazine is one of our support sponsors, and Mark Moss is the editor and stuff. And this is a national folk magazine that's been around for half a century, and you were one of the editors of this thing.
Yeah. Back in the late 60s to early 70s, I spent about 3 years being the editor of Sing Out.
So you're a very multi-hat folk guy. I mean,
yeah, I do all kinds of things. I write books, I put out DVDs, and sometimes I play my own songs.
Who said folk was boring, right? Now, that brings us up to this enterprise. One day, you thought, gee, it would be nice to be able to teach people how to play this cool stuff. And you came up with the idea with homespun tapes.
Right. I've always been a guitar teacher. Ever since I was in college, I was giving guitar lessons. And after a while, I had to leave my students because I was going on the road playing gigs, something like this. And the natural thing was to make some tapes to keep my students busy while I was gone. Well, that didn't seem to make a lot of sense unless I could sell them to a few more people and spread them around a little bit. So I put out a couple of ads in Sing Out magazine and other publications like that, Guitar Player magazine, and before long, people actually started ordering these things. So my wife Jane and I started a little business, literally at home. That's the name Homespun came from that. On the kitchen table, running off tapes. We made them in our living room with 2 microphones and a little tape recorder. And
at the time, this was just audio only.
it was only audio. It was reel-to-reel audio at that time. We weren't even cassettes yet. 1967.
Wow.
Then cassettes came in, and we used to run off the tapes on our kitchen table after the kids went to bed.
This was like having a cassette music lesson, how to play the guitar, how to
That's right.
play
Right.
And then you started inviting some friends of yours to participate.
Right. Well, we were living in Woodstock, and my brother Artie, who's a fantastic guitar player,
Yes.
we brought him in to make some tapes for us. We got Bill Keith, who's a banjo legend who lived down the road. And then we started going further afield to New York and eventually to Nashville and other places. Now we've got, I think, 500 lessons.
Well, eventually, it was soon enough you left the audio world and you started making videotapes where
Right.
people can actually, like I said earlier, you can watch Bela Fleck, who is looking at the camera, telling you how he is doing this,
Right.
and the camera is looking at his hands, and you're able to figure it out, right?
Yeah. And we've been lucky enough to get Bela, Sam Bush, Doc Watson, Bill Monroe. I mean, the list goes in pop
So
artists.
you have a video instruction of Bill Monroe teaching people how to play the mandolin
Right.
his way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we have Sam Bush also teaching what Bill Monroe taught. We have two DVDs now. One is Bill Monroe talking to the camera, and the other is Sam Bush
explaining
what he did. Right. So that's pretty cool.
So
we have something like 200 instructors now and about 500 or 600 lessons.
And so you went from videotapes now, of course, on DVD, which
right,
makes it very easy for people to stop and go. And like I did, I've been playing the banjo for a while, and sometimes you listen to these songs, like I did the Pete Seeger song of In the Evening, and I couldn't figure out the pattern of the roll that he was doing on the banjo.
Right.
And as it turns out, I was doing the right thing, but in reverse, which is what was confusing me. But I didn't figure it out till I watched him. And I go, I'm an idiot. But it was worth the small amount that it takes to get a DVD and stuff.
Right.
So this must be fun for you. You get to play, you make your own albums,
Right.
and you're running homespun tapes, which is helping other people learn music.
Absolutely, and we get letters from people all over the world, just like you do. We get letters from people all over the world thanking us for teaching them. And when you mentioned Pete Seeger, that was a huge thrill putting out Pete's video and DVD because he was the reason that I started playing the guitar when I was in high school back in the 1950s. So Pete's been my hero, and then I got to put out some of his own lessons on our company.
Well, it's really neat. I mean, I've seen the Chris Thiele DVD on how to learn how to play the mandolin. I've watched the Pete Seeger one. It's very entertaining because where Chris was just a young gun and totally into what he was doing and figuring it out and stuff. You know, Pete is a grand master with the patience to teach and explain. And there was nothing rushed or overexcited. He's just sitting there and he's got that historic banjo that people have seen for half a century, and just showing you how he's doing this. And it had his little booklet, too, with tablatry.
That's right. They all come with booklets, and we have everything from harmonica to double bass and everything in between, stringed instruments and vocal lessons and fiddle, mandolin, banjo.
That's a lot of fun. So you've had this grand musical life. Now you've got a new record. It's called I Walk the Road Again.
Right.
So it's fun. You're maintaining your artist self while your enterprise self is also working on more business-like things.
You have to do that. As you know, you go out and play gigs and play for people and make records, and you have this wonderful radio show and web show, and you have to keep your hand in it and keep performing, playing, growing as an artist in order to pass along what you do to the public.
Mm-hmm. Anymore, artists have to have one hand on a guitar case, the other hand on a briefcase. Unless you're Toshi Regan, you just say, yeah. And
and Lenny Kravitz never called me.
Yeah. Elvis Costello never invited me on the David Letterman show. I just said, yeah.